Welcome to Billion Dollar Marketing Secrets Over Coffee with Biz Coach Steve Feld. Biz Coach Steve interviews fellow successful business owners about the strategies they have used to grow their businesses, and in turn, you can use them to help you navigate your business towards success. Ready to learn strategies to grow your business with less stress and build a long-term sustainable business to exceed your personal and business financial goals to build the business of your dreams? Well, you have come to the right place. Please welcome Biz Coach Steve Feld.
Hello, fellow business owners, and welcome to another episode of Experts Over Coffee. I'm Biz Coach Steve Feld, and my goal is to stop business owners from suffering entrepreneurial depression and make running their businesses easier, have more fun, and to build a highly profitable business to reach 7 figures and beyond. Today, we have another great guest for you. We have Dave Courvoisier. Now, Dave, he's a career TV news anchorman turned freelance voiceover artist. Please welcome Dave.
Great to be here with you, Steve. Let's get going. Let's talk about it.
Get right into it. I like that. So you've been an anchor person. Now you're doing voiceovers. What got you into that transition to get there?
Right. Well, I actually started doing voiceovers back in 2007 or 8, and I just retired from TV this July. So I've been doing voiceover along with news anchoring at the same time. I kind of saw the writing on the wall. I noticed that there's viewership erosion in TV. TV in general is losing viewers, and I knew that I would have to have something to go to if and when I retired. And I thought, well, voiceover, that's got to be easy. It's just like what I'm doing on TV every day. I voice over the video of the news. And so I jumped in with both feet. I believe in immersing myself in any kind of new direction. And I jumped in, I started blogging, I started taking coaching. I went to conferences, I talked to a lot of people. I just kind of threw myself into it. And what I found out was that in the world of voice acting, DJs and news people are not necessarily welcomed. And here's the reason why. News anchors and DJs have a certain kind of patterned vocal delivery. You might even hear it in my voice right now. It's what you expect on the news, but it doesn't serve you well in voiceover. In voiceover today, they want conversational. Now, you're not going to find a client who can define that, but they know it when they hear it. And unless you can pull off conversational, you're probably not going to succeed in voice acting. So I've had to get coaching to get rid of the news delivery and be more conversational.
That's amazing. And then now you're doing, what kind of voiceover work do you do now?
I do primarily e-learning, video productions that are internal to corporate, slideshows. I audition daily for commercial work because it pays the best, but it's also the most competitive. I also do some audiobooks. I've done some audiobooks, but that's a whole nother cat. Audiobooks take a lot of time and patience and focus, and it doesn't pay great. It's creatively very fulfilling to create characters and to keep up the level of narration day after day after day, because it takes 2 or 3 weeks to narrate a book. So you have to be consistent, and it, like I said, it doesn't pay a whole lot. So I've kind of trailed off of doing audiobooks.
What would you tell like a business owner if they're looking to create their own business video, corporate video, training videos? What kind of tips would you tell them?
I would tell Steve, Biz Coach Steve, that he needs a voice actor to do an introduction for his podcast. And I've actually done a few of those. I think it's clear that research has proven that the human voice can bring emotion to any kind of product, even more so than video in some cases. And what we're seeing in voice acting right now is an incursion of artificial intelligence voices, very popular. And I can see where some people in the lower echelon of need or who are not willing to pay for a human voice might consider artificial intelligence voices or synthetic voices. But I'm pretty sure you, Steve, and most everybody else who's listening can tell the difference between an artificial voice and a human voice. You can hear it on TikTok TikTok or Instagram, you hear those artificial voices and you go, I mean, it's acceptable, but if you want an audiobook, you don't want an artificial voice. If you want a good, well-meaning commercial done for your product, for your business, you're going to want a human voice that can reach the listener with the emotion.
Do you actually change the voice style, everything to the client and their needs?
Most auditions I get, and this is the auditioning process, I should explain, comes to me by email, and I have agents and I have online casting sites that send me auditions every day, more than I can possibly audition for every day. And in the audition is specs for the kind of delivery they want, the kind of sound they're looking for. Often they'll include a link to a YouTube video of a voice they like, or sometimes they'll say, we want Tim Allen, or we want Morgan Freeman. And I'm like, well, then go hire Tim Allen or Morgan Freeman, because I'm gonna charge you just about as much as they are. Anyway, they do give you specs or idea, and sometimes the specs or the directions are even longer than the copy. So then you kind of think, well, does this person really know what they want? What you'll typically do in an audition is follow the specs and try to give them what they asked for, and then do a second cut with what you think the interpretation should be. And look, I've been doing this for a while, so I think I kind of see what the copy demands, and then I'll offer a second cut. And often the second cut will get me the job.
Wow. So that's a good little lesson for business owners. It's like, hey, go with what you think and then go with your gut.
Yeah, and it's fine. I mean, people know what they want. They just can't often express it in words. But when they hear it, they go, that's the voice I want. That's it.
It's kind of like getting your hair cut. Here's kind of what I sort of want.
No, this a little more often. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I won't know until I see it.
That's right.
What do you think when these people are needing the voiceover work? What do you see as their top challenges that they're using it for? What brought them to that point?
It's clear that in e-learning, for instance, there's a process that most e-learning designers, what do they call them? Yeah, designers, they go through. They use a certain kind of software. They have a process with their company that they develop, with the slides and the copy, and then usually the last thing they require is the voice. So the copy gets all written, the slides get all made, then they'll start looking for a voice actor. And most e-learning copy is pretty straightforward. It's no nonsense, but it can be a little more conversational, because you don't want to sit there as an employee. If you have to listen to a training video, you don't want to sit there and drone on. So you try to make it a little engaging. But most companies are looking for honestly, they're looking for a voice that's good, but they also want a client, a voice actor that they're hiring, to be dependable, to be on time, to communicate with them, to be willing to make corrections, and to be a good person to work with. I mean, I think of myself as part of your team. If you hire me, I'm part of your e-learning team. I want you to be successful so I can be successful. And that's kind of the attitude I take.
Great. I'm going to shift gears a little bit. I talk to many business owners, and they're like, boy, I'd love to get on TV to promote whatever. What kind of strategies do you see that they actually do well and don't do well so they can get that precious segment?
So if you really do have a worthwhile product or event or activity of some kind, then you want to see if you can get local TV news coverage for it, you're going to have to, there's a couple things. First of all, hopefully someone, a reporter or a producer or a mid-level manager in the newsroom that you can approach. Maybe you've curried that relationship through LinkedIn or from previous connections. And you want to approach that person, that news person, with an idea that's going to help bring them viewers and that is engaging and that it fits into their news philosophy. That's a lot to chew on, but it's going to have a video component of some kind. We can't just come over and do an interview. We can't just say, oh, there's an event coming up next week. That's not going to sell. TV people they have short attention spans these days, like everybody, and they want to know how your event or your product can be shot. It needs to be shot in a compelling way, and there needs to be an interview associated with it. Someone who can talk well on camera and who knows their business.
Okay. I know I've gotten press in one of my businesses quite a bit, but I developed those relationships with all the publications. And I always made sure when I gave them an article to run or anything, it was always about their audience, always was
Right.
in mind to make them look
Yep.
good.
And it's important to be persistent without being a pain. So you want to tell them it's coming up in 3 weeks. They want to come that it's coming up in 2 weeks, and then 1 week, and then remind them that it's tomorrow. And it's on you to remind them. Usually, most people that are in the news business don't mind that because they've got so much else going on. They've got something happening today. They're not going to be looking at 3 weeks. They're going to be looking for tomorrow. And so just keep reminding them, as you said, explain how it's good for their news product and how it'll be engaging on the news. And don't expect anything, because I'll tell you what, you can make the best arrangement. You can have a solid appointment set up with a plan for someone to come with a camera and interview you tomorrow, and all gets shot to heck because there's a big car crash or a huge fire or a plane crash or whatever the news immediacy demands. That'll foul up your appointment. So you got to keep after it. You got to go after it again.
Absolutely. Persistence is key. And that's kind of what we tell our business owners. It's like,
be nice.
Be nice. Yeah. Don't be that person.
Yeah. For instance, I did a weekly show called Wednesday's Child, where I was featuring foster children who are available for adoption. So we would profile one child each week. So I came to be the person in the marketplace who had a heart for child issues. So I would often get approached by people who had this or that event coming up for children, and you just learn that people either get it or they don't when they approach you, because the first approach is usually, we have this event, it's coming up, I have this person to interview, and here's some video from last year's event that we can use. I mean, it's just, you have to be prepared, and that connection you have with whatever news person in the newsroom is really important. And call them when you don't want something. Call them and just say, hey, just checking in on you.
Absolutely. And I'm going to guess, and I know that this goes for print, radio, TV,
yep, absolutely,
even web.
Yep.
Yeah. So follow the same process. Develop those relationships is really the key.
Yeah, and that it's almost trite, but it is true. Relationships are all that drive our lives, our businesses, our approach to marketing. So important.
And I know you probably get those guests for those segments. And what kind of tips would you tell them to make it effective? Not, oh my gosh, what is this person talking about?
Well, it helps to actually practice. If you're not comfortable or you're not familiar with being on camera, you really ought to practice with someone. Practice with someone in your office. Or get out your camera like we have here at a webcam and just record yourself. Most people are really shy about that and don't understand. They think they look awful on camera. Well, you don't look awful. You look yourself, and you don't sound funny. You sound like yourself. So record yourself on camera. And if you're doing a Zoom interview, for a lot of the news stories now, you can do a Zoom interview. I think COVID caused that a lot. Do like you and I are doing, Steve. Be centered in the picture. Adjust your camera for good quality focus and lighting. Lighting's so important, and just be camera ready. I could go on and on about that. You can probably do a college level course on it, but know what you're going to say. I mean, if you're an expert on the topic, you're in great shape, because you can speak off the cuff about just about anything. If you're not so comfortable with the topic, boy, you better study up, because they might ask questions that that you're not ready for. And here's the final thing I'll say is that you're in control as the subject of the interview. You're in control of the interview. If you're not comfortable with something or you don't know something, say, I don't know. I can find that out for you, but right now I can't give you an answer. Don't try to stumble through something that you don't know, because they're going to see right through that. And you can stop the interview whenever you want to. You're in control of that. And some people think, oh, I'm on camera now. It's going on live on the air. Well, no, it's not. It's being recorded. So you can just go ahead and stop the interview quickly while you gather yourself if that's needed.
Absolutely. I remember going into a studio, and it's like, is this live? They go, it will be.
Yeah.
And I was like, I had to think about it for a moment, because we're recording in one of the side areas. And then I leave, go home. Now my segment comes on and we're now live.
Yeah. It's so much of the newscast is already prepared and recorded and edited and ready to go on, and not a whole lot of it is live unless you see the anchor tossing to a live reporter somewhere in the field. And live news is probably one of the best things that local TV news still does. Most of the rest of it is pretty formulaic. You expect to see car crashes and court cases and criminals being arrested or whatnot, but the live stuff is really, you can't get that anywhere else, not even on Twitter really effectively. You have to have a live reporter on the scene of that huge condo fire, and that's one of the few things I think live TV news locally does better than anybody else.
Absolutely. And then you have your own voiceover business. So what are the kind of things that you learned, the hard way in building your business?
Well, so, I worked for someone else for 40 years. I worked for TV stations and they marketed me and they promoted me, and that was all fine and good. And then when I left and went to become a voice actor, I realized I had to do all that myself. So marketing has been the toughest part of this job. Now, a voice actor wears a lot of hats. You're your own accountant, you're your own audio engineer. You have to self-direct during your sessions because more than likely you're doing it at home in a studio that you set up. You have to be an audio engineer. There's a lot of things you have to know how to do, but marketing was the toughest for me to get used to, because I'm at heart, I'm an introvert, and I don't like to reach out and grab people by the collar and say, hey, you should hire me. It's just not my style. So I've had to learn, and we were talking before we started recording here, Steve, as you know, we were talking about LinkedIn being an excellent source for making relationships and then slipping into the conversation along the way. By the way, if you ever need anybody for a product of yours, e-learning or for a video presentation, I'd love to get a chance at it. So the marketing part, that's the one that's been the toughest nut for me.
Oh, you nailed it. And you also brought up another good thing, and a lot of people don't realize this, because I love getting on stage and presenting and sharing my knowledge, but I too am an introvert, and most public speakers are actually introverts. So we can get up there and deliver, but then we got to go hide.
So there's a lot about that. I've written about this extensively in my blog. People seem surprised when they find out that I'm an introvert because I've been a news anchor. Well, honestly, when you're a news anchor, you're in a quiet studio with maybe one or two other people and some cameras, and that's it. So there's nobody looking back at you. I had to learn how to go to be an MC, say, at events for public charities, and there was thousands of people looking back at me. I'm like, this is intimidating. But I got used to that, and I got good at public speaking. But it came to the part where I realized that having to be charming or having to be on in a public role is very demanding for an introvert. And I got a quick little story, if you're interested, about how the introvert is different from the extrovert. The introvert starts the day with a full bag of coins. And every person he meets, he gives a coin to. And at the end of the day, his bag is empty and he's beat. The extrovert starts the day with an empty bag. And every person he meets takes a coin. And by the end of the day, his bag is full. And that's really a great analogy for how introverts and extroverts are different. I can be charming, I can be an extrovert for a while, but I get beat up by it.
That's so true. And I think that's for business owners. You got to know your style and play to your strengths in those areas.
Yeah, and there's strengths to both. I mean, neither one is wrong or right. It's just different.
Yeah, no, we are also talking about a lot of business owners are writing a book nowadays, and then they're doing their own audio.
Well, there's
something you tell them not to do.
I wrote a book about voiceover, and I narrated it as an audio book as well. And I find that it gets probably more sales than the print version. But I would encourage you, if you are writing a book as a business owner, not to necessarily narrate it yourself. People can tell if you're a rookie at that, and it doesn't cost a whole lot more to get it narrated by a professional, and it'll appear professional then. There is a site where you can find a narrator for your audiobook. It's acx.com. It's owned by Amazon. Isn't everything? And you can be paired. You can be paired with a narrator by posting your work there.
Excellent. I'll put that link in the show notes as well. But
Okay.
I also and I'm in a group of other coaches, and we're like a mini mastermind, and they actually do voiceover work for them on weekends, just for a few extra bucks. But they have the equipment, they're British, so they have that going for them. And they get picked up because of their accent and their tonality.
Yeah. No, I get that. That's always, the British accent, it just, people in America just love it. I have a couple of friends who are Brits that live in New York or in Charleston or Atlanta, whatever. They're always busy. There's a good market for that.
Yeah, it's funny how us Americans attach ourselves to certain accents.
Yeah, I've asked the question. Do you ever go on Quora, Quora?
Yes.
You can ask questions, get answers. I asked the question there: Are Brits infatuated with the American accent as we are with the British accent? And the answer was no.
No,
not really.
But other countries are, like Australia.
Yep.
They think we have a great accent.
Right. Yeah.
They all think we talk like we're from Texas, but that's another story. Let me ask you, we're going to wrap up here, but what would you like to share to the audience about using voiceovers in their business and things that they should be looking for?
Look, there are a million applications for the human voice in the business world. I mean, I do museum tour audios. I do, a bus tour audio. I mean, there's cartoons, there's video games, promos. I mean, it's just almost an endless spectrum of the application for the human voice in your business. And you'd be surprised at how people react to just the voice. If it's done right, it can really enhance your product or your service, even to the point of your phone menu. If you have a professional duo, how many times have you picked up a phone, you get on the menu system, it's like there's somebody from, Sally from down the hall is, please hold for blah. It just sounds awful. And it would enhance your business to say, have a professional do your phone menu system. There's all kinds of applications for the human voice that is professional, knows what they're doing, and will work with you to get things done right and on time. That'll enhance your business.
So true. You brought that up. I used to work for the Harlem Globetrotters, so we had the music of Sweet Georgia Brown, and we had one of the main players do the voiceover on the phone tree. So you get the phone call, and everyone would go, "Can you please put me back on hold for like another minute?" Because they wanted to hear the music.
Well, if you've got a celebrity, no, that's golden. I mean, that's the best.
Hey, use what you got around you.
That's right.
Well, Dave, I want to say thank you. I think we had a great time. Thanks for being our guest, sharing your knowledge and experience.
Oh, you bet. Thank you so much for having me on and asking great questions, man. You got to the heart of it real quick.
It's great when someone's going to share this. And it really, we're here to help businesses grow and survive and thrive. And this is something I know. I talk to a lot of businesses. It's not something that they normally deal with, but then when they try it on their own, it's like watching the 5 o'clock news in the train wreck.
That's good.
We know it's not pretty, and we can't take our eyes off of it.
It's people want to see the bad stuff so they feel better about themselves. And that's kind of what the news is about these days.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Yep.
Folks, if you like Dave and you definitely do not do your own voiceovers yourself, get a hold of Dave. We will have all his contact information in the show notes.
Thank you.
And Dave and everyone, thank you for being with us. So Dave and everyone else.
Thank you, Steve.
I'm sorry?
I said thank you. I appreciate the opportunity, and it's great to be on your podcast.
Thank you for being our guest. And if you like Dave and other experts on this show, please make sure you give us a positive review, subscribe to the channel, share it, and like this episode. I'm Biz Coach Steve Feld, wishing you and your business much success.
We hope you liked today's guest on $1 Billion Marketing Secrets Over Coffee. If you'd like to see how much hidden revenue we can uncover for you, well, click on the link in the show notes to speak with Steve. Mention the podcast when you book the meeting. You will receive a special gift. Make sure to like this episode and subscribe to this podcast to hear other great proven business leaders share their strategies to help you grow your business.